Here we go. Baldur's Gate 3 should not set the standard for role-playing games, warns game developers. Whoa, this is an anomaly. Should it not set the standard, or do developers not want it to set the standard because they are afraid of what people are going to expect out of a good RPG? You know what I mean? Game developers have clubbed together to explain that Baldur's Gate 3 should not create a raised standard for other role-playing games due to the upcoming game's large scale. Xalavier and Nelson Jr., accomplished independent developer and founder of Strange Scaffold, took to Twitter to explain that Baldur's Gate 3 is an abnormal game. Oh yeah, you're good, Ferret. No worries, buddy. Thanks for that message on Discord too, dude. I'll bring that up. To exemplify this, Larian Studios began work on the new entry in the series in 2017, using 7 different studios with over 400 developers, and benefited from a significant volume of fan feedback in a 3-year early access period. Yeah. Like a lot of people, I'm deeply excited about what the lovely folks at Larian accomplished with Baldur's Gate 3, but I want to gently, preemptively push back against players taking that excitement and using it to apply criticism or a raised standard to RPGs going forward. Additionally, the Belgian developer and publisher had learned a lot from the successful Divinity series, as well as delivering the enhanced and definitive editions of Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2, respectively. This is not a new baseline for RPGs, this is an anomaly, argued Nelson Jr., encouraging players to celebrate the achievement of Baldur's Gate 3, but not to consider this as the new standard for all RPGs. Grimlore Games senior narrative designer Rebecca Harwick spoke in support of Nelson Jr.'s statements. You can't be appalled about how much big games cost to make and make those lavish productions the standard by which all games are judged. I hope Baldur's Gate 3 is a generous once-in-a-lifetime RPG. I hope no one expects a 10, 20, 40-person team to make one. Peter, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? What up, dude? However, fans felt divided. Some said the consumer decides what the new standard should be, while others agreed the points about the unusual development of Baldur's Gate 3, but asserted that fans would want games of their favorite genre to get better and better. I think that's what we all want, right? I'm gonna express a sentiment here in a moment. Baldur's Gate 3 recently revealed that there are 17,000 possible endings for the game, which isn't so surprising when remembering that there is triple the cinematic dialogue than all 3 of the Lord of the Rings books in the RPG. Yeah. Waiting for go time at work. Word, brother. Righteous. So, yeah, I think that it's going to be unrealistic for people to expect all RPGs to be of this scale, right? Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be incredibly massive. And just because a game isn't on the same scale doesn't mean it won't be good, right? Will it be quite as immersive? Will you get quite as much gameplay out of it? No, it doesn't mean it won't be good either. This is progression in the industry, though. This is what we look for. So it maybe doesn't need to be looked at as setting a new standard for what every game should be. But if this game, and look, Baldur's Gate 3 hasn't even released yet, right? So this game hasn't even released yet. But if this game is very good, and from my own experience, when it comes to games, especially CRPGs, traditional type CRPGs, like what Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be, I want a large game. I want a game that is very immersive, choices matter, very good character-driven narratives, things of that nature, right? Where, everything that you do in the world has an effect on what overall transpires. The way you interact with your party members, the way you interact with NPCs, the way you interact with choices for quests and And you know, I want all of that to have an effect on the world and the end game as well. You know, and that's what this game appears that it's going to be. I'll attribute it to something very similar to the Pillars of Eternity series, which are amazing CRPGs if you haven't played them. They are fantastic. They're very, very, very good. Are they perfect? No, but they're really, really good. And yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be hard for smaller studios to touch the scale of a game like this. This game's been in development for a very long time, and from a very big developer too. So if you can put those hand in hand, you know, you've got a massive developer, and the amount of time it took them to make a game of this scale, you're not going to be able to do that with a smaller studio. Really, it's just not feasible, right? It doesn't mean that RPGs can't still take from a good quality standard. This game setting a nice standard for what RPGs should be. You know, I don't think that, I think that that's what people have to take away here. You can't expect every game to be Baldur's Gate 3. You can't expect every RPG to be Baldur's Gate 3, right? But we want this game to be good. And we want this game to be setting the bar and setting a new standard for developers to reach for, right? And for developers to emulate. Does it mean they're all going to be able to match exactly what Baldur's Gate 3 potentially will be? No. But it's not a bad thing to have a great standard for developers to reach towards. I think that's the difference between what we have to take away here. It's obvious that not all developers are going to be able to match this. It's a massive scale game. There are a lot of people that have worked on this for a very long time. And people should not expect every RPG to be of this magnitude, right? But to set some standards for goals for other RPG developers to reach for is a good thing. We need good games coming out to set standards. And I'll tell you this, I think more often than not nowadays, it's the indie developers that are the ones that really set the bar. They're the ones that set the standards for the gaming industry nowadays. They've got the more inventive, creative, immersive, fantastic. We just played a game that blew me away. A game that, honestly, Dave the Diver is what I'm talking about. That was so refreshing because it's one of those games that I don't experience the culmination of so much greatness in a single title come together very often anymore. Great story, very funny, amazing artwork, inventive gameplay, a lot of different types of gameplay together, where it was every single day I played the game, I experienced something new. It's those types of things. I really do think that the indie developers, the smaller development teams, are the ones that are really, really setting the groundwork for what gaming is and needs to be moving forward. Now, are indie developers normally going to be able to create games of this scale? Absolutely not. You know, because the teams are just too small. It would take them an enormous amount of time to get a game like this pushed out. But it's not bad for a game like this, as long as it's good, to set standards as well, to give developers something to reach towards, right? Even if they can't meet that same scale and magnitude of something like Baldur's Gate 3, in my opinion.